Okay, now we can use this oblique view or axonometric drawing to show structural elements which are holding this pitched roof. We can explode that and pull apart these elements, and we can call it a exploded structural axonometric view. So I'm going to be using this A4 tracing paper, and because I want to pull apart this and show underneath the pitched roof, so I'm going to use the A3 paper in portrait instead of landscape, because I want to start by drawing the walls, and then I'm gonna explode that all the way, and so the roof might come all the way to here. So I'm going to give myself enough room. I'm going to start here because then I want to have some annotations here. I want to pull apart these elements, and I want to give myself enough space. So I'm going to start here and simply tracing over these lines to show the walls. Okay, if I use this paper to show what I've done, I basically have drawn the walls. We assume maybe these are load-bearing walls, and I basically removed the pitch roof, so therefore I need to show the thickness of the walls, which maybe we can assume 300 millimeters or less, because I'm drawing this axonometric drawing at a 1 to 100, so I can either use my scale ruler, or I can use my normal ruler, because this 100 is easy to do that. So 300 millimeters. So don't worry if it's a bit rough and sketchy, that's fine. We want to show you the technique, and then for your studio project you might want to be a little bit more careful with how you produce these lines. And of course, because we have removed the pitch roof, so we are going to see some of these elements. Internal walls. Okay, so that is the first bit that we've got here. We can start thinking about where we are going to be labeling or annotating, and we are going to maybe start by annotating these to say, okay, I'm gonna create a guideline so it helps me keep my annotations neat. And I'm going to be using another line here. Two guidelines, and then I'm going to write down here load bearing walls. You could go ahead and maybe draw a plan view of that to show different layers. We're just going to break that, and we are going to say maybe here block work, and we know how to use hatching to show materiality. So, and then maybe block work here, and then maybe some sort of insulation. And again, kind of break that, and even we can start by annotating these elements to say this is brick, This is insulation. And block work. So next, what we want to do, we want to start looking at, maybe there are some timber joists here, so that they are holding this pitch roof, or they're holding some of the elements. So what we're going to do, we are going to go back to our first drawing here, and similar to exploded axonometric, we are going to actually move down slightly, and again trace here. We are going to always use the original drawing here, and now we are going to maybe start by drawing floor joists. What we are going to do, we are just going to go, maybe for the sake of this, we are going to go 600 millimeters, so 600 millimeters, and we are going to draw that floor joists here. Okay, and this is, I'm going to put a piece of paper here, and this is basically, in reality, is located somewhere here, and the same there. And then we kind of explode that and pull apart these elements, so to make it easier to understand and read the building here, read the structure here. So these floor joists are normally 400 to 600 millimeters center to center in distance, but for the purpose of this video, we are not going to do that at 600 because it's going to be too many. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to do that at the center 1200 millimeters. So I'm going to do that 1200 here. So I'm skipping one in the middle for now, just because I don't want to confuse you with too many lines here. But for you to know, perhaps I could have drawn another one of these in between. These very light lines are the guidelines that guides me through the drawing. So, and again, maybe 200 millimeters here. That should be enough. And I'm gonna go back to my original drawing, put these ones here, and then that's where I'm going to finish that joist. Another one there. And these are going to go there. You can show the original location by extending these using dotted line, so that shows these elements actually in reality are located here. The next thing I want to do, I want to maybe put some, or let's actually annotate that. Again, I'm going to use two construction lines always to make sure these are neatly and nicely written. Timber for your building is going to be different. It's just for the purpose of showing you how to construct a structural exploded axonometric. Timber joists. And then you can maybe also write the dimension here, maybe 200 by 100. It's just again, for the sake of this exercise, it can be 150 or bigger or smaller depending of this on this span. Or maybe similarly to this one, you can actually draw the elevation or section of it to show that these joists are there. And you can show that center to center of these. And of course we didn't draw the ones in the middle. Maybe we can do that here. And then maybe we can say the dimension between these are 400 or 600 center to center. Center, 600, let's say, millimeters. Then what we want to do, maybe on top of that, we would just make sure you drag this vertically. And then, so this is located there. These are the joists. And then again, we're going to go slightly higher now, maybe even more, maybe there. Make sure this is aligned with that line and this is aligned with that line here. And then we are going to again trace over that the floorboards, and the floorboards are normally 1200 millimeters this way, that bit. And again, what I'm doing is simply tracing over that, maybe giving it a little bit of a thickness here, 18 mil, 20 mil thickness of the floorboard, and one here, 1200 and 1200. So just gonna trace over these, and these are my floorboards. I'm gonna just give it a bit of a thickness here. And I'm going to put a tracing piece of paper here to show you these are the floor joists underneath. So I'm just exploding things, elements, and then maybe we can go ahead and annotate that and say, again, using two construction lines, we can say these are floorboards or floorboards. For your building is different, but again, for the sake of the drawing, we are going to go 18 millimeters here. And then maybe on top of that, maybe we have some sort of a truss, and the truss, we can use again the same technique to show that maybe there are some kind of maybe king trusses here. I'm going to trace over that again, art of tracing. And I need to give it a bit of a thickness here. Don't worry if it's sketchy, that's absolutely fine. And normally the king truss has this sort of a king post there, and then and two bracing here, and then another brace here. So that is, maybe we can do another one here. A king truss and the brace. We might go in the middle as well here, just making sure this is parallel. We might go in the center exactly, the center, which is 2.5 here, center, 2.5 center, and that should be same 2.5 there, and another king truss there. Okay, so I'm gonna put another piece of paper here, so that you can see what I'm doing. I'm just pulling apart. I need some thickness to add here. Now we can go ahead and annotate this to say again, I'm going to make sure my annotations are drawn using two guidelines, and I'm going to call these, maybe these are the king trusses. So the king truss, again, you could maybe go ahead and draw a quick sketch here to show these in more detail and add some dimension to it. Maybe you can draw that there and add more of a detailed explanation of the elements, what we call, for instance, we call this one a king post or a brace, king post brace. So if I was to draw or write it down, king post, and these are the diagonals or diagonal brace. And so on. And you can add dimensions to it as well. So just moving up further, there are normally some sort of a purling coming on top of that, and then rafter, and then roof decking. So we are going to show these elements, which are normally called purling. So if I again, these are the timber battens, some sort of a batten or a timber purlings that hold the decking or hold the rafters. So I'm going to again use this drawing here and say this is the timber purling, the battens here that are holding the roof. I'm going to do one here. Add a thickness to it, and maybe one in the middle. You might need an extra here and there, but for the purpose of this exercise, I'm going to just do 3 of these. And of course, you'll need them here as well. Maybe 3 here for now. Just going to use dashed line here, and I'm going to put this paper there to show you what I've done there. So these are the purlings, normally come on top of the truss. So again, I'm going to use 2 construction lines, call that purling. They can be 100 mil by 50 mil battens, wooden battens. Some sort of, you can show that in elevation, and you can show the dimension there as well. So on top of that, you might have rafters, or you might have some sort of decking. So again, I'm going to use my original drawing and then slide that in all the way there, and then retrace over these to draw my decking. So that can be one, and that can be another piece here. Or maybe we can do that in 2 pieces. And then let's call that roof decking. So again, just make sure we've got 2 construction lines or guidelines, and then they call that roof decking. again maybe 18 millimeters or so on. We can go ahead and maybe give some definition to some of these lines using a technical pen. So if you have a 0.1 or 0.2 technical pen, you want to start from the top one, because some of it is underneath that and you might need to rub out some part of it, because that gets hidden by the upper element. For instance, if you have got this element, I'm just gonna use my ruler to give some sort of maybe a little bit of more definition to some of these lines. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to draw that using a ruler, but I'm gonna for now use a ruler here. And you'll see why I started from this element, because as you can see, that part of the purling gets covered, so I'm not going to be redrawing them using a pen. So probably that part is the one that I want to draw. And the same here. And maybe you can see some part of these purlings here as well, not all of it. Gotta be careful not to smudge your drawing. I think I did a bit. And maybe you can either make these some sort of dashed lines. You don't want to get completely rid of them, but you want to show that they are covered in that. Maybe we can use a marker highlighter to highlight this. And then we can leave the bits which are hidden underneath that. So that becomes the roof decking. Maybe we can go ahead and do that. 18 millimeters or 20 millimeters, and that is the purling. Sorry. Maybe 100 mil by 50 mil. We can go ahead and draw some of these as well. what we are doing, we are showing this different layers of information, and we delaminate these different layers of information here to show how things go together. And that is it, really. So if you want to show, for instance, these are the elements that have been exploded somehow, and that is the original location of that. We might use dotted line to show that for each of these elements. For instance, that element there, and for instance, this goes on top of that truss. That paling comes on top of that truss here, and that goes here. So you might want to show that here. The same, for instance, that goes on top of that, and then this is going there, and this bit goes here. So you can show using dotted line, and that goes on top of that to show the original location of these elements. These dashed lines should be very light. If you have a 0.1, or maybe use pencil to do that instead of technical pen. The reason I did most of it with technical pen is that I wanted you to see it in the, on your screen. And that is it, really. That is, we can call it an exploded axonometric or exploded structural axonometric, showing the different component, the structure of the roof, and how this pitch roof is being hauled using this element. Again, that is just an example, and your building is most likely different. And but I hope that it helps you understand how you create an exploded axonometric drawing to show structure. So, and then we can call it an exploded structural axonometric. So the exercise actually was all using the original drawing, and then by sliding this plan upwards vertically, we kind of created this exploded axonometric projection that shows different structural element in our building.